like, what did I sign up for? Like, what am I literally getting myself into? Because here I am, new mom, still got little ones that are running around that need both of us. And you're waking up early, but it's not waking up early to help me
With the
with
kids,
kids. It's
yeah.
not waking up in the middle of the night to help me with the babies. It's because Daniel and Donovan only 2 years, a little bit less than 2 years apart.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like, now I'm waking up early to get this grind. Hey, this is Amanda Wells.
And this is Derek Wells. Welcome
Welcome
to
to
the
the Wells
Wells of
of
Wealth
Wealth
podcast.
podcast, where we bring you the latest insights and strategies for digging deep and tapping into the wealth of knowledge that can help you achieve your financial, relationship, family, and faith goals.
Let's do it. Welcome back to the Wells of Wealth podcast.
We back, baby.
We back like we never left.
Like we never left.
Okay, so today I'm going to get into our quote of the day, the words of wealth. A strong marriage and a successful business both are built on a foundation of love, trust, and a shared vision for the future by Tony Robbins.
That's good. And that takes us right into what we are going to be talking about today, which is basically how do we function as a married couple and we work together.
Ooh, child.
I get so many questions.
All the time on that one.
Like,
How y'all work together?
yes,
And y'all married? How that
right.
work?
And y'all still like each
How that work?
other? Exactly. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And just to kick us off and get us started, I'm going to take us back to really towards the beginning of our journey. Not the beginning of our marriage, but the beginning of our journey of entrepreneurship together.
Okay.
And so this is like, honestly, for me, probably one of the darkest moments in our marriage. I remember, I believe it was Daniel that was just born. And we were starting off new in real estate. You were working nonstop. I just had a baby. We got two other kids. And your grind was like there was no turn off. And for me at that point, I was like, what did I sign up for? Like, what am I literally getting myself into? Because here I am, new mom, still got little ones that are running around that need both of us. And you're waking up early, but it's not waking up early to help me with
the
kids.
kids,
It's
yeah.
not waking up in the middle of the night to help me with the babies. It's because Daniel and Donovan only 2 years, a little bit less than 2 years apart.
Yeah.
It was like, now I'm waking up early to get this grind. And never before in our marriage had I truly, truly considered divorce more than in that moment. Because I felt like I lacked support. I felt like I lacked love. I felt like I wasn't appreciated as a mother and as someone that just gave birth, which is a big, a traumatic experience. Your emotions are everywhere postpartum. And although we have a great village, both of our parents are incredible. We have friends and family that will help. It's nothing like having that help from a spouse. And I was just like, if you don't turn this off, like if you don't find some balance, you're going to lose us. Because this is not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
And that was real talk. That was real talk. I just remember having to come to Jesus with you, like, I can't do this anymore, Derek. Something has to change.
Yeah. And I remember being in that space and coming from working at Ernst and Young, where during the busy season we would work 80 hours a week.
Mm,
So I was moving into a new venture. And taking the leap of entrepreneurship is a scary venture in itself.
it is.
So what I know, I'm a work hard, I'm a grind, and I'm a make sure that we are good. And that's what I did. And the other aspect of my life would not prioritize because I'm like, I didn't want to be a failure. I didn't want to step out here and take this leap and then everything goes awry. So I'm like, I gotta grind. I gotta focus on this. I gotta put in the hours. I gotta make sure that we good. And for me, finances as being the man of the house, and I look at that as a key role in our relationship.
Yeah.
So for me, if I don't feel like I'm delivering on that, I don't feel, I'm not gonna feel at peace. So I think that for me, I kind of let everything else fall by the wayside
Yeah.
because I was so driven and focused on making sure that we were good.
Right. And in looking back at that time, at just from reflecting, so taking a step out of the emotion and where I was at that moment, I can understand where you as a man, you're like, look, you just had this baby. Take your time. I was full-time entrepreneur at that point. I was done
Yeah,
teaching. For you, I think it was more so of a like, look, I'm gonna hold this part down, you hold this down.
yeah, yeah,
Like, you take the time you need to get yourself back, take care of the baby. Your mom is here, your grandma's here, my mom's here. Like, y'all hold down the village, or the village will hold you down,
and I'm a
and
grind.
I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get this
Yeah,
money.
yeah,
Like, but in the moment, you don't, as a wife, strictly as a wife, not as a business partner, but strictly as a wife, it was such a hard concept to grasp because you're already emotional.
yeah,
You're already like sleep deprived.
yeah,
You can barely function as it is, and you're looking for support from the person that's laying next to you every night.
yeah. And I think people, um, sometimes people take for granted how much having a kid changes your life.
Yeah.
I mean, especially going from when we went from one to two, that was a significant change. And then having the third one, um, like you said, your emotions, they kind of all over the place. I'm grinding. We got another 1,000 that we got to pay in daycare. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like we got to figure this out.
Yeah.
And it brings a lot of stressors on both people.
Yeah.
And both people try to figure out what their coping mechanism is going to be. And for me, my biggest stress was how do we pay for all that? So that's why I went 100% on. For you as a mother and being a nurturing person, you're like, we need cohesiveness.
Yeah.
We need to be pouring into each other in this
Yeah.
season of our life. Where I'm like, no, we need to be getting money.
That was it.
I'm like, we need to get this bread.
That was
this
the only
paper.
conversation.
I'm
That
like,
was
money
it.
ain't gonna pay for none of these daycare. I mean, cohesiveness ain't gonna pay for none
Yeah.
of these daycare bills. That's gonna be money.
Right.
And so,
But at what point did you realize, um, I gotta figure out some balance to this because she's not like this is not gonna work for our marriage.
I think that I think things really started to like we really started having some heart to heart conversation. Like, hey, this got to change. And I saw the elements of our relationship falling apart.
Right.
So I was like, okay. And like we talk about wealth, like you can't. It doesn't make sense if you're a multimillionaire and you got a horrible marriage, you got a horrible relationship with your kids. That's not wealth.
Yeah.
That's not what God intended it to look like. And I knew in my heart, like, okay, something has to change.
Yeah.
But I will say, me putting in the time allowed me to get to where I need to be, so I could step back.
Right.
And I've always been a type of person that that looks at my life in season. So I looked at that as a season like, hey, I'm in grind season, like my busy season.
Yeah.
Like I need a couple months to figure this out so I can grind and make this money and get us to a place we need to be. And then I can start to fall back some and get more balance.
Yeah.
And I think that's like as a man, I think that's how we move sometimes. I think that we it's easier. I think it's sometimes easier for us to compartmentalize things. Like for me, I can compartmentalize business. So when I'm working, I kind of get into a different mode.
Yeah, I know.
When I come out of work, I go into a different mode. When we chilling and we kicking it, it's a different Derek that you get when I'm on my grind, like when I'm working.
But and I agree with that. But two things. One, it took time for us to get there and for us to figure that out because that wasn't always the case. It wasn't all there was a point in time where I remember from sun up to literally sundown, Derek is working on the phone, talking, computers in the bed. If we're on date night, you're answering the phone for lenders or clients or whoever. The work was always the most important part. There wasn't a balance of, you know what, y'all, I'm with my wife right now, and this is not business
That person,
time.
yeah.
This is I'm with my wife. Like this is time for intimacy, for me to pour into her. It was like, oh, my phone ring. Oh, okay, hold on one second, baby. Yeah, so about this deal, is it closing
About
on
this
Friday
money.
or
Whoa.
nah? And so I remember being like, yo, when does wife Amanda get time? And not only that, but I also remember that our intimacy suffered because for women, and I can speak for most women, I can't speak for all, but in order for us to get in the mood or be like to get to that point, you got to pour into us during the day. You got to build us up. You got to make us feel wanted. And it's not just in that one moment or 10 minutes leading up to when it's time to be intimate. And so I remember our intimacy suffered because you would bring the laptop in the bed, typing away at night. We got these little kids, sleep deprived, and you're working, and then it's like, oh, I'm done with work. You want to cuddle? No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to cuddle. Don't touch me because you haven't poured
Poured into
anything
you.
into me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you're not going to pour into me if you can't pour into me.
That's fair.
Like, I mean, that's real talk. And so I remember there became a shift. There was a shift where, like you said, we started having real conversations. And
I don't want to cut you off, but
Yeah.
I actually remember when I shifted. We were in the bed and you were like, you always on the phone. Like, how many people call you a day? And I sat there and I went through my call log.
I do remember that.
And it was like, I'm not on the phone that much. I don't get that many calls. And it was like 50 calls, 50 transactions with me calling somebody calling me in a day.
And that was just phone
And that was
calls.
before all the spam calls that
Right.
you get
That we get
500 a
now.
day. But
Yeah.
and I'm just like, you're right. Like you got a good point. Like this is pretty bad.
Yeah.
And then it clicked for me like, okay, like I got to reshuffle this. Like people need to start texting me if they can text me. Like we got to figure this out because this ain't working.
Yeah. And it once you did that, once you start to prioritize like everyone can't have access to me, I saw the shift.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so with working together, right? With finding our balance and working together, keeping a happy marriage, keeping a thriving and successful business, what are some of the key elements that you think are required? Like what are those key elements that you're like, we had to build this into our relationship, both business and marriage, in order for this to work, what we have today?
Number one, I think communication. Like you have to know how to communicate effectively. Because the way I communicate to you as a spouse and then the way I communicate to you as a business partner are not always the same.
Yeah.
And we had to figure out like what's your style? Like how do you want what message are you going how are you going to receive this message?
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of learning each other, learning our styles. Like you would come into the office and want to give me hugs and kisses while I'm
Yeah.
working.
Just
I'm just
like,
like I'm working though. Like I'm in my zone. I don't want. That's not what I'm looking for.
but I'm just like,
But you just
hey,
like, oh, hey,
baby,
baby. I'm just like,
what you doing?
working. I'm working.
What you working on?
Stuff. What you working on? I'm doing the same thing you supposed to be doing. Why you up in here?
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true.
But then, like when I'm out of that, when I'm on my, when we just spending time together, and you have to make sure that you're prioritizing time for each important aspect of your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And when things like if I need to work late, I'm like, hey, we got X, Y, and Z that we need to get done. I need to put in some extra hours. We're not gonna be able to chill tonight, and then you like, okay, I respect that. Like I
Yeah.
understand what we gotta do.
But it goes back to the communication.
Exactly.
You're setting that expectation up front. So if I know it's not every day of the week that you're just in the office grinding till 10 or whatever, I'm like, do you? Take your time. I got a couple of episodes of some shows I'm trying to catch up that's not a together show. Do your
You been watching
thing.
together shows without me?
No, I haven't. Anywho, do your thing.
She
Like,
lying.
do your thing is cool, right? But it's because you communicate that to me. And same for me. There's times that I know I got to be gone all day. I'm not going to be able to cook dinner tonight or help one of the kids with their homework or their projects because I'm out showing these houses. And so, hey, baby, look, this is what's on my plate for today. This is what's on my calendar for this week. I need you to pick up dinner this night. I'll pick it back up tomorrow night. But it's all in the communication.
Yeah.
It's all in us being able to tell each other what we need from each other in that time. That keeps us just flowing. That
Yeah.
keeps our ship rocking. Or is that right? Sailing, not rocking.
If you're doing that
It
too,
does.
though, we can ride some ships, baby.
We can.
Um,
Get back on topic.
don't get it confused now.
Get it back on topic, sir.
What was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I think you have to look at your family as a enterprise. Like if like that's how I look at us. I don't and before I just looked at us, you handle all kids and household stuff. I pretty much go full throttle on business stuff. You just kind of help fill in the gaps. Then I stood back. I still had to step back and say, okay, from a business perspective, there's a lot of assets that you have that I don't have. From a marketing standpoint, that ain't my gifting. So let me look at this more holistically.
Yeah.
What as from a family enterprise level, from what we need from cleaning the house, what the kids need, where they gotta be, what we gonna feed them, that goes all into the equation of the enterprise.
Yeah.
And then let's make sure everything is managed. So I'm being utilized on the family and the household things that you need me to do, and you having more freedom to work on the business stuff that you need to work on.
Right.
Instead of me just saying, "Hey, you handle all this. I'm gonna be the point person on handling this,"
Yeah.
and then we're not utilizing all our strengths effectively.
Absolutely. And because so just to give a little background, we are the Wells team, so we service real estate clients, buyers, sellers, but we also manage a brokerage, Next Home Elite Advisors. So we have agents that are also that fall underneath us that we're mentoring. You handle a lot of the accounting or all of the accounting and finances within both businesses. I'm handling events and marketing and our social medias for all of that. Like, we had to get to a point where we understood that we were partners
Yeah.
and truly partners, and that everything that we did was to help bring each other balance and to bring each
Agreed.
other up, and it all poured into the same pot.
Agreed.
And so once we were able to identify that, I saw our success rate skyrocket. Because I remember there was a point when we were working together where you're like, I brought in these clients, I done did this, what you doing?
Yep.
And I'm like, Derek, I didn't help you with half of these clients. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's not a you versus me, it's a we.
We. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we are working
Yeah.
on these people together. If you can't show, I step in and take care of that for you. If you're like, hey, I need these closing gifts prepared, or I can't host this open house this weekend, can you step in so I can take the kids to this game? Like, we work together. We figure out where each other needs each other. But we had to truly see each other as partners first to be able to get
Agreed.
there.
That's good. We did.
We did.
Because that is a big thing that we lacked.
Yeah.
I don't think we looked at each other, but I think because initially we kind of started off in those roles. Initially, I was just pretty much working on the business, and you had just had Daniel.
Yeah.
So it was like you had just kind of was focused on more
I had
on
to take
holding
a
the
back
house.
seat. Yeah. I had to take a back seat.
So I
to
was
the
used
business.
to just like running the show.
Yeah.
And then when Daniel went to daycare and we had a little bit more help, it was like, okay, now let's figure out how we work together.
Right.
And that took time for us to figure out our how we mesh.
It did.
Yeah.
It was off balance
a
for a
journey.
while.
Yeah.
And we definitely had some I
Growing
think that
pains.
was growing pains. Yeah. I was gonna say, like, that is in that period of figuring out how do we work? How does Wells team work? We went through probably the most just ups and downs. That between that and figuring out once we start raising kids and just figuring out our balance, like, those are the two of the toughest times. And that's because it takes true partnership, it takes true communication, it takes a lot of just getting down to like the bare minimum and saying, okay, what do you need from me?
Yeah.
And how can I be of service to you? And we both had to bring ourselves down to that level where it wasn't like, oh, you should be doing this for me. I expect you to do this.
Yep.
We had to let go of expectations and be able to truly talk to each other and say, this is what I need from you. And, or how can I serve you in this way? Because I see that you've been running around with these clients all day. So don't worry about X, Y, and Z, baby. I'm gonna take care of it.
Yeah.
Like, we had to learn to take care of each other.
And for me, I had to learn that criticism wasn't an attack. Because
I had to learn that too.
yeah, I think we both had to learn
Yeah, I
that.
had to
Like,
learn that too.
criticism is not an attack. Like, when you were telling me you're not doing this, or you need to spend more time in this area, I looked at it as, okay, now she complaining, or now she not looking at all the stuff I'm doing in this area, or I'm doing, versus saying, okay, if you want me to step up here, cool, but this is what I got on my plate. So I can do this, but we need to figure out who gonna do this.
Right. Exactly.
And it's a conversation. Like, if you see a gap that needs to be filled,
Feel it.
like, I can help fill it, but
Yeah.
that may create another gap. So how do we reshuffle the deck to make it all make sense?
Yeah.
And if I'm just looking at it from a lens of business perspective, and if you're just looking at it from a lens of family perspective, and we both not willing to intermingle in both of them, then there are going to be gaps, and there's going to be a lot of frustration.
Yeah.
But when you look at everything all together and you fill in the gaps on both, then it can work.
I agree. That's true. That is very true. And so that brings me to the question of, and we kind of touched on this, but in dividing roles, and responsibilities just in our business, do you advise that couples that strive to work together, that they set clear in separate roles from each other?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you feel like there should be shared tasks between the two of them?
I think that you need to each identify each person's strengths and then create roles around those.
Yeah,
It doesn't make sense for you to do accounting when I have a master's degree
that is
or
correct, and I'm not
finance, or,
doing it, and won't.
and it doesn't make sense for me to do social media when you have a great eye, you a great marketer. Like that's not my gift.
Yeah,
Now I can fill in the gaps. Like if we need to do something, I'm capable of doing it. Or if you need to do something,
all of my friends know Derek as like the repost king. Like, baby, he is not going to create original
you know I got
content
time for that.
on his page.
I'm in my brain. I'm strategizing business moves. What we gonna do? I don't have
I'm gonna
time to
get you a
be
T-shirt that says, "Hey, tag me in that post."
bet.
I'm gonna
I
get
need
you that
that.
T-shirt
I
because
need
it
that.
does not matter. Derek's like, "Hey, tag me. I'm
Tag
gonna
me.
repost it."
I'm reposting
So I don't know about filling in all those gaps.
some of
There's
them.
a few little
There's a few.
gaps that.
I can go and copy and paste what you want me to copy and paste onto Instagram.
That's true. You can do that.
You create the content, and if if you're not able to post it, I can go do that.
Okay.
Give
Thank
me
you.
some credit,
I'll give you some credit.
a little bit.
I'll give you a little credit.
All
You
right.
got it. You got the credit. I give it to you. But yeah, I agree with that. Like with our roles, just in our roles in our business, in our household, there's key things that we have strengths that we play on, and we make sure that we understand that so that it never becomes a, well, you don't do this, well, you don't do that. We're not playing that game. I know what's basic, I want to say expected of me, and what my roles are in the household and in our business, and vice versa. And if we start to feel like one of us drops the ball, then we're each other's accountability partner as well.
Yep.
You're like, hey, our social media is looking a little dry.
Yeah.
It's time for you to
Yeah.
get back to posting. I'm like, okay, cool. You right. I've kind of dropped the ball on that. Let me get back on my grind.
But you don't look at it as an attack.
But it's not an attack. No.
Yeah.
Because if we're working together and you're my partner, if I was teaching and my principal came in the classroom and said, "Hey, you're doing a great job at small groups, but I noticed when you're doing your math lesson, you can improve in this area." I'm not gonna be like, "Oh, she just don't know what she's talking about." Like I'm not gonna feel attacked. I'm just gonna say, "Noted. I'll work on it." And when you're working together in a marriage, and your business partners, you have to look at it the same way.
Yeah.
You have to be able to say, "Noted. I'll work on it,"
Agreed.
and just do it,
Yeah.
because it's not an attack. And you have to, the key thing that I realize is if you are in a good relationship, a good marriage, a good partnership, you understand that that is coming from a place of love.
Agreed.
It shouldn't be coming from a bad place. And if you know it's not coming from a malicious place, why do you feel attacked? You should be cool.
Agreed.
And so that's helped me when you come to me and you ask for those things, or if you give me feedback or whatever. I'm like, this is coming from a place of love. I hear you, and I respect your opinion.
You value me.
I do. Oh, here you go.
You can explain more.
Here we go.
Elaborate. That's what I was trying to say.
On how
No,
I.
I'm joking.
Oh,
I'm joking.
I was about to say, I'm not about to sit here and make this a praise Derek party. We're not doing that. Not right now. I'll tell you why I like you later.
Okay. Hold you to it.
Okay. So what do you think are some of the benefits of working together?
I think that one of the benefits is that we can travel together and we can kind of create our life how we want it to look.
Yeah.
We put in the work, we've created a certain amount of success. So now we can enjoy the success together.
Right. That's good. That's good. So for me, my favorite part of us working together, just as a married couple, is kind of like you said, like being able to travel together. And not only that, but I know so many couples that typically it's one spouse that's an entrepreneur, the other
Hmm.
one is still in a 9 to 5. And we have a flexible schedule. Like we're able to be like, hey, let's take this week off and do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have that
Luxury.
flexibility, that
Hmm.
luxury. So that's one of my favorite parts of us working together. And then the other part is like we just have a good time together.
We
Like
do.
we get to go to realtor happy hours,
Hmm.
different little trips, or agent events, and we just have a good time. Like we vibe together.
Yeah.
People are always like, "Oh, y'all are so cute," and
We
it's
do get
because
there.
we
Yeah.
genuinely enjoy working together and having fun together.
Hmm.
And so, to me, that's the best part is I get to work with my best friend. I
Oh,
know,
I like that.
yeah,
That is good.
that's the best part.
Yeah.
So jumping into the next segment of our show, which is called Wealth Avenue. And Wealth Avenue is where we give you tips on your road to success.
Hmm.
And so you want to hop into your tips?
Yeah, I think one tip that I would give is if you decide to work together, make sure you fill in your gaps. So each person has different strengths, different weaknesses. And there's going to be gaps that you have and there's going to be gaps your spouse has. Make sure that you identify those and work to fill those. And sometimes it may be hiring help. Like
That's
we brought
good,
in your mom to help us when we were both really
man.
trying to grind and we needed more time and flexibility. We had her here,
Yeah, the
and we
kids were small.
yeah,
We really
exactly.
needed that help for
Yeah.
sure.
So identify your gaps and work to fill them, and that could be each person strength may be able to fill those gaps, or you may, like I said, need to bring in some additional help.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest gaps is communication.
Absolutely.
That is one of the biggest gaps in relationships, period, hands
Hmm.
down across the board, whether a husband and wife relationship or
Friendship,
business relationship, friendship, like communication is
key.
key,
Absolutely.
major key.
Absolutely.
So that's good. That's a great tip
Hmm.
for our viewers. My tip for today's Wealth Avenue segment would be probably to just have like if you're gonna go into business with your spouse, make sure you have fun with them. Like make
Yeah,
sure that you actually like the person that you're going into business with. Like
that's important.
it's super important. It's a simple tip, but it's so important. And I saw the importance of that during COVID. The amount of
Mm,
people that figured out, the amount of married people
yeah.
that figured out that
Yeah.
they didn't truly like their spouse was during COVID.
Yep.
They locked in the house together.
Yep.
You get to truly see who your
Yeah.
partner is, who your spouse is, and it's just you have to actually enjoy
Their
what
company.
yeah, you got to
Yeah.
enjoy doing this because
Hmm.
we're around each other all the time.
All the time. And I think would say the same thing. Like during COVID, I can't tell you the amount of people that we sold their homes because they were getting a divorce.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
that's real
think it's
talk.
easy. It's easy to cohabitate when you kind of seeing each other in passing. Like you come home, you might get home at 6, 7 o'clock from
Yep.
work. You know, you may kick it for a couple hours, then I'll go to sleep, and then you up doing the same thing the next day. And a lot of couples, they know each other in passing.
Yeah.
But when you are stuck in the house for days in and months in,
Months.
and you really get to it makes you really determine if you like that person or not. Like,
Right.
do y'all vibe together? Like, how is that going for y'all? And it gave a lot of people time to realize that, hey,
I
I
ain't
don't really like
really,
you.
yeah. You ain't it for me, dog. Like,
This ain't it.
yeah.
So yeah,
And
I
during
think.
that time, we really we rediscovered our friendship. And it was a sad place or a sad time in this country with all the death and the different things, sickness that was happening. But for us, like in our household, we really were able to cultivate a fun time for our
Yeah.
kids, for our family, for each other, for all of us to reconnect. And we figured out we liked each other.
Yeah,
Like we
yeah,
liked each other, liked each
yeah.
other.
I like you.
You gonna check yes on the box?
Will you go with me? Yes or no?
You gonna check yes?
I think about it.
I'm gonna check maybe.
To be determined.
To be determined, possibly. So that wraps our show for today. Thank y'all for coming on this journey with us. Be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast streaming apps. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And you can find us on Instagram at Wells Team Houston. And again, thank you for being a part of our wealth community. We look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks. Bye.